As World War II was raging across Europe, Hitler's madness had led to the invasion of Poland and many other European countries.
Meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten.
In the span of only 2 days, Warsaw, the capital of Poland, was invaded, and the suffering of thousands of Jews was about to take place. One last effort, how the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto resisted the Nazi regime. An attack like the world had never seen rained down on Poland. Troops by the thousands were closing in on the Polish border with heavy artillery and about 2,700 Panzer tanks. But perhaps the most terrifying weapons the Nazis used were warplanes called Stukas, equipped with a screaming device designed to spread fear to enemies on the ground. In addition to this, the Nazis also charged in with attack dogs, flamethrowers, and even more troops and tanks. But in response, the Polish could only watch their country fall as they tried to stop the effort with their much inferior horses and rifles. The Nazis used this unique method of invasion that consisted of unexpected rapid-fire artillery and air assault. They called this blitzkrieg, meaning lightning war, named to indicate the quick and unexpected invasion of Poland. One historian described the scene as, "It was like medieval knights, lost in a time warp." After invading Poland, the Nazis built the Warsaw Ghetto, one of the many ghettos which housed thousands of Jews from many cities waiting to be deported to concentration camps. But the ghetto was not just a place where Jews were imprisoned, it was also where some had to stand up and become heroes. These brave Jews resisted their Nazi oppressors and inspired others in their community during hard times, which is why the Jewish resistance bravely took the responsibility to stand up for the rights of the oppressed people living in the Warsaw Ghetto.
On July 22, 1943, the Treblinka extermination camp was established to brutally kill the Jewish population of the Warsaw Ghetto. They used pure chemically manufactured carbon monoxide gas to suffocate every Jew to death, including the elderly and even children. In the ghetto, the Jews believed they were being deported to labor camps for work, unaware of the grim fate that awaited them when they boarded the trains.
The Warsaw Ghetto was not only a place where Jews were held captive, it was also a graveyard and a place of grief and depression. Children were often seen begging for food from civilians, and many were lying on the streets, not having enough to survive the dreadful prison-like place. The biggest reason for death in the ghetto was disease from typhus and starvation due to rations being barely enough for the day. For example, a male ghetto inhabitant who would have required 2,500 calories every day would only get about 800 from food rations.
After some time, the Jews had enough. So the ZOB, a Jewish fighting organization, was established by the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto to plan an attack against the Nazis. One day, the ZOB received crucial intel. Instead of the labor camps they were told they were going to work at, they were actually being sent to the Treblinka extermination camp. Enraged that they were deceived by the Nazis, the Jews started to create a plan in an effort to seek revenge. Their main goal was to completely stop the deportations to Treblinka. They sought support from various groups, including the Polish army and other spies. One significant figure was Vladka Mead, who played an important role in smuggling weapons and whatever they needed into the ghetto. She sometimes disguised weapons as food or even bribed the Nazi guards with money and jewelry.
Some heroes in the ghetto were not just fighters. Some, like Janusz Korczak, or more. Janusz Korczak, the director of the ghetto orphanage, even knowing the fate that awaited him, bravely went with 200 children in his care who were ordered to be deported. He even told the children fairy tales to comfort them in their final moments before they all entered the gas chamber to face their demise.
One fateful day, German SS and police units returned to the ghetto to continue the mass deportations to the Treblinka extermination camp. However, a small group of Jewish fighters, armed with pistols, had infiltrated a group of Jews headed to the deportation point. Suddenly, people started to scream. As shots were being fired, the people dispersed and ran away to safety. The Jewish gunmen were able to hold off the German escorts for some time, but they had to retreat. As a result of this, most of the Jewish fighters died, but the innocent people had a chance to escape.
It was the first day of the Jewish holiday Passover, but was also the day before Hitler's birthday. General Jürgen Stroop, a German SS general known for his specialization in persecuting and harassing local people using his methods of killing and destruction, arrived in Warsaw, ready to deport the rest of the Jewish citizens in the ghetto as a birthday gift to his leader, Adolf Hitler. Based on their last experience of the resistance in January, Stroop had also brought along with him 2,100 soldiers, 13 heavy machine guns, 69 handheld machine guns, 135 submachine guns, several howitzers, and 1,358 rifles, just in case the commander in position couldn't handle another attack. Right before the deportation started, about 750 Jewish resistors showed up to the area, and compared to the Germans, only had 2 submachine guns, a handful of rifles, and homemade explosives. Even without nearly enough weapons and troops, the resistors were able to hold off Stroop's soldiers for the first 2 days, and were even able to hold out under siege for 4 weeks. One report from Poland even described the scene as, "The heroic resistance of the ghetto of Warsaw continues with but a few strongholds holding out. The Jewish fighting organization shows supreme agility and courage." Frustrated by their inability to quickly suppress the uprising, Stroop ordered for the ghetto to be destroyed with tanks, flamethrowers, and explosives. On May 8, the ZOB headquarters was surrounded by Nazi soldiers, and many Jewish leaders, including Mordecai Anielewicz, the leader of the ZOB, committed suicide in order to prevent being captured. After the Warsaw Uprising was crushed, Jürgen Stroop ordered the complete destruction of the ghetto. His forces burned down buildings, demolished structures, and eliminated any remaining inhabitants of the ghetto. Stroop documented this devastation in a report, including photos of the wreckage and bodies of fallen fighters.
A couple days after the ZOB headquarters was captured, the remaining Jewish fighters who were lucky enough to survive Stroop's madness were captured and sent to Treblinka, where many were gassed. To mark his so-called victory, Jürgen Stroop destroyed the Great Synagogue, a powerful symbol of Jewish culture and history in Warsaw. As the Red Army, also known as the Soviet Union, was approaching Warsaw, the camp was evacuated of all its Jews. They had to go on foot and walk 30 kilometers a day to a city called Dachau. Amidst the chaos and brutality, stories of courage and resistance emerged from the ghetto. Simcha Rotem, a survivor that escaped the ghetto, later told filmmaker Claude Lanzmann, "During the first 3 days of fighting, the Jews had the upper hand. The Germans retreated at once to the ghetto entrance, carrying dozens of wounded with them." The significance of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising lies in its powerful demonstration of resistance against extreme oppression. Despite overwhelming odds, the Jews achieved small victories, such as destroying German tanks and holding off the Nazis for nearly a month, showcasing their resilience and bravery. The uprising also played a key role in bringing attention to the horrors of the Holocaust. Tragically, approximately 7,000 Jews were killed during the uprising, and 50,000 more were deported to extermination camps, highlighting the devastating cost of the uprising.
Memorials like the Poland Museum ensure that the stories of resistance are preserved, serving as a reminder of the ongoing struggle for human rights and the necessity of courage in the face of oppression. Today, we remember the uprising as a symbol of bravery and importance of standing up for what is right, even when the odds are against us.